Oh, hi, Astra. How are you?
Oh, hi. Is this Bill?
Yes, it is.
Hi, how are you?
Your name is Astra.
Yes.
The hell kind of name is that? Now, I like it.
Interesting.
I like it, too. And I like it. I'm thinking about it for future kids. Where does that come from?
It's a little unique. It was a little tough growing up with that name. I got made fun of a lot, like astronaut and such, but it's okay.
Well, I think that would be an honor to be called astronaut.
Yeah, it's not so bad.
I wanted to be an astronaut when I was a kid. Astronaut and architect. Now, here I am.
So you're a part of this ex-ScientologyKids.com.
Yeah, that's our new website that we launched in February. Two friends and I launched it. We all grew up in Scientology.
Yeah.
And, kind of it's to, help kids who've recently gotten out or are thinking of leaving Scientology and kind of offer some support and sharing stories and sharing experiences.
Why would anybody want to get out when everyone's going in? Right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, there's a lot of bad stuff that happens, a lot of abuses that happen to us, and
people jump on couches and
yeah. Well, Scientology, let me clarify, is obviously a lot different for celebrities like Tom Cruise,
right?
For the average person. And especially for us who grew up as children and actually were recruited to work for Scientology in something called the Sea Organization, that's where the real abuses occurred. Obviously, these things aren't happening to Tom Cruise.
Right. God
Celebrity
forbid.
gets treated like royalty, but that's not really the case with the average person.
I believe that Tom Cruise is actually a disciple. He's like one of the chosen disciples.
Seems
yeah,
like
apparently it seems that way.
So, first of all, if you don't mind, what is Scientology? What is the basis?
Well, it depends on if you ask a Scientologist or someone else, but I mean, Scientology promoted as a kind of a self-help organization, and that you pay basically to reach these various levels that are supposed to rid you of your reactive mind to start with, which is their word for basically your subconscious. Now, can
I interrupt just for a second?
Sure.
Were you born into Scientology?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
My parents were Scientologists.
Okay. All right.
So, but in reality, but they keep these levels very, very secret, and no one who hasn't reached these levels, even in Scientology, even where I worked in like the management of Scientology, we were not allowed to know what was in these secret levels that are supposed to be like the answer to life until we got to them, and we never did actually get to them because it costs a lot of money, about $200,000 or $300,000 on average to reach those levels.
You mean it costs you? You will only get to the to the chosen place if you have enough money to buy yourself a spot.
Well, that kind of seems kind of fishy.
Wow.
It's kind of fishy.
And what I found out after I left, what a lot of us found out after we left, speaking to people who had reached those levels, who left Scientology, and also they've leaked all the confidential documents. They're all over the internet, and you can read them on what these secret levels are. Is basically a really kind of funny space opera story about, being brought here from other planets and being trapped in volcanoes and being blown up, and how we're all infested with dead space aliens. And all these upper levels are about ridding yourself of these dead space aliens that are clinging to you. So that's what it really is all about. It really, at the bottom line, it's about making money.
And when you say space aliens trapped in volcanoes and infesting, that's what the religion's based on, isn't it? Like some faraway, distant, like Star Wars guy blew up all these aliens and they all came here or something like that.
Well, and
those stories are all correct.
And where is, according to the Scientologists, where is there life after death?
They consider that they call it dropping the body. When you die, you drop your body, and you're instructed to go find a new body.
That's weird.
They believe in reincarnation.
I see. That's weird.
And I wonder how that whole reincarnation thing works.
Yeah.
Because you think about, can you imagine, like, there are many people you'd want to be reincarnated in. I mean, who would want to be reincarnated in some third world country?
Yeah,
right.
Seriously.
So, it's got to be some massive fights going on sorry, I mean, it's like an organ donor program. I mean, there are only so many organs out there, and you get on a waiting list. Same thing.
Well, Scientologists consider that they can, because they know about this, that they can choose their body, whereas maybe the average person doesn't know about it, so they don't. And a lot of people I've known of people who their father died, and then they think that their nephew, who was born a month later, is their father. And then
that's weird. That's weird.
Yeah, and your parents were crazy into this?
My mom was very much into it. My dad never really was, and he actually helped me and my sister leave in the end.
Now, what happens
but,
when you...
I mean, in regards to our website, and I mean, the whole story with the space aliens and everything is very amusing and funny, but we kind of concentrate more on the abuses that are happening with children.
Well, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
And by the way, the website,
violations and such.
the website is ex-Scientologykids.com. One question, would you say that Scientology is somewhat gender bias?
No, in fact, they kind of almost eliminate gender.
Oh.
When we worked in this thing called the Sea Organization, everyone is called Mr. and Sir. It's based on like a military kind of model, but everyone is, even the women are called Mr. and Sir. Like, for example, my sister started working where my mom worked, and when she referred to her as Mom, my mom told her, "You're not allowed to call me Mom, you need to call me Mr. Woodcraft." So they kind of eliminate gender almost.
And do they eliminate the mother-father role?
They eliminate the whole kind of idea of the family unit, which is really, in my opinion, one of the main indications of something being a cult compared to a religion. I mean, there's lots of arguments on what makes a religion and what does or doesn't make a cult, but something I think a lot of cults have in common is they try very hard to eliminate the family unit, and that's how they control you. And you're basically told that you've had many other lifetimes, you've had many other children, you've had many other parents. This is just one lifetime. So, you know, your family isn't supposed to be special to you, and you're just supposed to work to spread Scientology around the world, because they consider that if they don't get everyone into Scientology and up to these higher levels, that we're all going to die. And so they consider that's much more important than family. And people have directly been told that basically your child is not important, your mom is not important.
What is interesting is Tom Cruise is like, who would have thought that Tom Cruise would like be a big part of something like this?
I mean, I saw on this news story on you guys that they actually separated the mother and father. Like, one was on the East Coast, and I forgot who it was, and one was on.
They make a point of doing that. They do it regularly, just kind of in an everyday thing. People get transferred. Some people are in Australia while other people are in the States. They send the children away. I mean, as soon as we joined, I was sent to live somewhere else. We weren't allowed to even live with our parents when I was 7.
So the church makes decisions.
And then they do it as a punishment as well. They'll send one spouse somewhere, and people go years and years without seeing their spouse.
Wow. Now, so let's talk about the abuses. What did you go through?
Well, I was recruited to join this organization when I was 14 years old. I was told, I was going to get paid minimum wage, and it was going to be a great job, and I was going to have all this time off. And as soon as I started working there, I was paid $11 a week. We were not allowed to leave the building without permission. We were fed 3 meals a day there, 7 days a week, on a budget of $8 per person. So it was really like horrible food. We weren't given time off. I had maybe 1 or 2 days off a year if I was lucky. I was told I wasn't allowed to speak to my dad anymore because he wasn't in this thing called the Sea Organization, even though he was still saying he was a Scientologist. Because he wasn't in the Sea Organization, he was considered an external influence. All our phone calls were not put through. All our mail was opened and copied. Anyone who wanted to leave was put under a security watch. They'd be held against their will. In fact, my job for about 4 years that I worked there was to convince people who wanted to leave that they had to stay.
Yeah, what about the interrogations? I heard something about...
and then when you want to leave, or if you're in trouble for any other reason, and you get in trouble pretty much all the time for anything, because they're actually contracting. They say they're expanding, but they're making less and less money, and less people are getting in. And everyone was always in trouble for this because we weren't making enough money. So they will put you on this thing called the E-meter, which is what they use to do their thing called auditing, which is supposed to get you to these higher levels, but they will also use it as interrogation, and they'll ask you questions, and they consider that the only reason you'd want to leave Scientology, or the only reason that Scientology isn't working on you, is because you have crimes, whether it's this lifetime or last lifetime, and you're hiding, and you need to confess them, so they'll interrogate you.
And how many people do they sometimes convince that, yes, they've been a good person in this lifetime, but unfortunately you blew it the last time, so we're going to have to punish you?
Well, I just saw a story, a woman who made a video of, she's about my age, and her father killed himself. And he had been, it's a horrible story, but he had been a Scientologist. But he didn't seem to be able to get to these higher levels. He kept trying, and they kept telling him, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to pay more money. And they had him do an interrogation thing under the E-meter called pain. They convinced him that he had been subject to pain drug hypnosis by psychiatry, because they're rapidly against psychiatry, and that he'd been sent in as a mole to kind of spy on or destroy Scientology. They convinced him this was true, and he was so distraught he killed himself.